About a year ago, I made a video describing tips and tricks to make your virtual life easier. Well, a lot has happened in that time frame, new headsets, new games, and I've actually learned a thing or two. So here are some tips or tricks or hacks, whatever you want to call them, to make your virtual life easier. Follow some of these and I promise your time in virtual reality will be that much better. So let's start off with maintaining your headset. Most VR headsets are pretty robust and don't have too many failure points, but there is one piece of a headset that, if ruined, will make being in VR nearly impossible. This is one of the biggest tips I have learned in VR ever, and it's honestly a game changer that will save your headset in case the absolute worst case scenario happens. All headsets have lenses, of course. Whether you have a Vive or Quest 2 or Index, it don't matter. Well, all of these headsets lenses are made of plastic, and if you're like me, you've likely come close to or have even scratched the lenses. And once scratched, the headset is just about as useful as a paperweight. You won't be able to see into VR, and it can even make you sick. And I'll show you today how to fix scratches, but the best way to go about this is to prevent scratches in the first place. And one way is to always have a microfiber cloth with you while you're playing, keeping those lenses nice and clean. It's just good practice to always have a cloth with you at all times. Just make sure it's clean, because a dirty, crusty cloth is a great way to actually scratch your lenses. I also don't recommend ever using a t-shirt. Your headset likely came with a microfiber cloth, just use it. One more thing on preemptively not letting your headset's lenses getting scratched is to get in the habit of using a lens cover when not using your headset. This will protect the lenses from not only dust and scratches, but also the bane of all VR headsets' existence, the sun. In case you didn't know, the sun can and will fry your VR headset's displays if sunlight goes directly through the lenses. Most VR covers come with them now, or you can even buy them cheap. It's just a good habit to get into. And I will talk about VR cover later, but what if, even after being super careful with your lenses and whoops, you scratched them anyways? Whether that means that you had some dirt on your shirt and you scratched the lenses trying to clean them, or you just took sandpaper to it like I did. This is probably one of the biggest tips and hacks I have learned while in VR since I started back in 2016. There's a fluid called Polywatch that you can buy, and it just applies directly onto the headset and you buff it out. A while ago, I tested this out on a Quest 2 with some sandpaper and Polywatch, and the lenses were buffed completely back to normal. And I'm not sponsored by Polywatch or anything. I've never even had contact with them, but this one trick can legit save you from a completely trashed headset. Plus, there are lots of used VR headsets out there for really cheap that have a small blemish like a scratch, and this can fix that. Scratched lenses suck, but like I said, this can fix it, and it fixes it for cheap. Now I just keep some on hand all the time in case the worst case scenario happens. So some people have iron stomachs in VR. It doesn't matter whether you're playing Boneworks or you're in VR chat getting 5.5 FPS. Nothing will make you sick. Then there are other people that get motion sick by just looking at a VR headset. Well, this next tip is kind of meant for both of you, and it'll likely help the iron stomach VR connoisseur play games more intensely and be more immersed, and it'll help people that get motion sick less often. So there are two parts of this. The first is to have a rug in the center of your play space. This can be anything, whether it's an actual rug or even just a piece of something that's a different material than the rest of the floor. Me personally, I use this little Cat VR circle rug, but like I said, you can use anything. I plop it right in the middle of my play space, and just by using my feet, I can subconsciously tell if I'm in the center of my play space, where I know that I can swing my arms wherever I want and not risk breaking an arm or a controller smacking into a granite countertop. I can feel the difference between the material and the wood floor, but this can work if you have carpet as well. This will do two things. For the experienced VR user, it'll allow you to be a little crazier with your movements because you know where you're at in your room, yet you don't have the immersion-killing virtual lines everywhere from your Guardian. And for the less experienced, it grounds them to something that they know within the real world. But there's another part to this, and it's kinda genius. For some people, it can even kill motion sickness entirely, and that's using a fan. The best way to do this is to put a fan in the direction of your PC, blowing towards you. Not only does this keep you a little cooler, which is a big deal in VR, but it also gives you a very passive way to tell you which way you're oriented, and tells you which way your PC or monitors are, so you don't end up destroying one of your displays. If you do both of these things, then over time you won't even think about it, and you'll be more immersed because you can do crazier things in VR. You'll subconsciously know where you are in your room and which direction you're oriented. All in all, it's just a massively great thing to learn if you're a VR super user. And for me, it's far more immersive because I turn off my Guardian boundaries now. You'll break less stuff, and you'll have less motion sickness. Just try it. Next up, I have an immersion tip for typical PC VR users that use a cable, and a similar tip for Quest 2 users that play PC VR through something like Virtual Desktop. So I am a strong believer in the pulley system. I've been using pulleys with my VR setups for years now, and I've talked about it many times in videos, and even have entire video setups on how to do it. It keeps the cable out of the way, resulting in far higher immersion. My least favorite part of PC VR is having a headset cable dangling down my back, tickling me. And if you use something like a Valve Index, it's the absolute closest that you can get to a wireless experience. Plus, it's really cheap. 20 to 30 bucks, and you've got this badass pulley system that, while not as good as wireless, it does work well. Plus, once you get used to the pulley system, you can gauge how tight the tension of the pulley is on your head and basically tell how far away from the center of your play space you are. Like I said, leading me to turn off my Guardian system entirely. The pulleys can either screw in, or you could use stick-on pads like I use, and they're easy to set up and easy to take down. Plus, take it from experience. Bring over a couple friends to your house, and it's definitely a conversation starter. But for Oculus Quest 2 owners, if you have a good enough router, you seriously do not need a link cable or USB-C cable or pulleys at all. In fact, for the same price as an official Oculus link cable that you use for PC VR, you can get this router that I use. It's nothing special, but for 80 bucks, you get a Wi-Fi 6 capable router that has pretty awesome low latency wireless capability with Virtual Desktop. So you can play Half-Life Alyx or Boneworks or whatever you want completely wirelessly with no need for a pulley system. In case you're wondering what the difference between 5 GHz Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi 6 is, basically it's lower latency and has a higher bandwidth than 5 GHz Wi-Fi, and the Quest 2 is capable of Wi-Fi 6. And in case you're wondering again, yes, the difference between 5 GHz Wi-Fi and Wi-Fi 6 is noticeable, and if you decide to upgrade, this is the one I've been using. It's nothing special, but it does the job and it's pretty cheap. I highly recommend it. So now I want to talk about a quick FOV increaser for almost any headset. I warn you though, this is a tip more for hardcore VR users. This is a slight trade-off for comfort, but a better viewing experience. And it's something that I've been doing for a long time. We all know about VR covers, or similar facial interfaces. They're replacements for the stock ones that usually get pretty nasty, are harder to clean, and in my opinion, are a little scratchy on my face. These replacement pads, on the other hand, are easier to clean and are more comfortable. What actually sold me on VR cover all the way back in 2017 though was a super slim pad that was released. This brings your eyes closer to the lenses, therefore you can actually see a pretty noticeable bump in field of view, cutting down on just a little bit of the binocular effect that you get while in VR. Well, VR cover doesn't release slim covers for every headset, unfortunately. I have one on my Index, which I love, and I have one on my CV1, which was great back then, but if you have a Quest or Quest 2, then you're just kind of out of luck. Nothing is quite made this thin. But if you piece things together, you can actually get a pretty big bump in FOV by putting the slim pad made for the CV1 on the Quest 2. Now, this is not officially supported by VR cover at all, and don't expect it to be as comfortable as the big pillowy pleather cover that comes with the Quest 2 VR cover. But if field of view is what you're after, this is a good mod, and it's actually how I personally use my Quest 2. I don't mind the comfort change, and games do look better. So if that's what you care about, then give it a shot. You can see just by the thickness of the pads how much closer it'll bring your eyes to the lenses. Now, 2 game tips, one of them regarding a ton of free games that you can play on any VR headset that I'm almost positive you haven't tried. But first, some of you guys may already know this tip, so I won't drag on for too long, but there are no game demos for VR games. And while I do think that there really should be, both the Oculus Store and Steam Store have really good return policies on games. Basically, on both stores, within 2 weeks, if you've played no more than 2 hours of game content, you can return the game and get a full refund. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, there are a lot of VR games that just aren't very good, or that I just didn't like, and this allows you to spend your money smartly and buy games that you actually want to play. So yeah, while there's no game demo setups for VR games, if you don't like a game or you're scared to buy a game because you might not like it, know that you can always get your money back, as long as you're within that time frame and it's for almost any reason. You just not liking it or not finding anybody to play with is a plenty good reason for either store. And the second second gaming tip. Of course, we all know about Steam VR games and Oculus Store games, but you likely didn't know that the Quest and Quest 2 and any PC VR headset have access to an entire library of content under WebXR. Well, actually, you might know, if you know. But it goes beyond just that sort of content. There are entire games and experiences and more just available to you within a browser through an awesome WebXR plugin. It's already on your Quest and Quest 2, and it's just a couple clicks away on a PC, and almost all of this content is free, and some of it is really, really good. You're seriously missing out on some great VR games and experiences that are right at your fingertips, yet not that many people talk about it. So go explore the free games if you're bored. But I have a bonus gaming tip. Are VR games feeling just a little too easy, or maybe even boring, or too much like a video game? Does it feel like, especially in single player games, you're just romping through everybody and there's no challenge? Well, I have a challenge for you, and I've been doing it quite a bit lately. It completely changes the VR experience. Hop into your favorite VR game, for me that's Boneworks, and now the challenge part. Do not touch your right thumbstick. No smooth turn, no snap turn, no nothing. The only way you can turn is through your actual body movements. I'm not gonna lie here, every game gets harder and it seems kinda dumb and intuitive, but it's way more fun, as long as you're able to do it, of course. Some games don't work all that well with only body movement, and in my opinion, that's on the developers. Of course, you still have to use your left thumbstick for moving, but in terms of rotation, I urge you to try playing games only using your actual body. Games will be more immersive, shooting is way more entertaining, and you feel like you're in the game more. Just like I said, don't touch that right thumbstick. I hope you enjoyed these tips or hacks, tricks, whatever you want to call them, that I've learned along the way. They've helped me, and they've helped everyone around me enjoy VR just a little bit more than we already do. And if you follow these, I'm sure that you'll get more enjoyment out of your VR experience. If you have any extra tips or things that you've learned along the way, throw them in the comments because, you know, we're all a big family out here. You should definitely come by and check out my Twitch stream. I do VR streams all the time, and if you want an awesome VR community to hang out with and make new friends, then come on and join my Discord server. I want to thank all of my Patreon supporters, especially my Omegas like Zale, Furtrap, Lucas Risotto, CPCJ79, Chaotic, Dented Melon, KR, That Brockeye, HCG Randon, Benji, Ronzarelli, Biz, Fusion Oak, Very Evil Shadow, and Debonair Fab. I couldn't do any of this without you. Don't forget to like this video if you loved it, subscribe if you want more of this, and hit that freaking bell if you just can't live without it.